Commanders training camp is in full swing, and I've got my list of 5 winners and 5 losers from the early days of Commanders training camp. But before I get into my list today, go ahead and help us win the month of July by clicking that subscribe button right now. We are in a sub battle with the rest of the teams here at Chat Sports for the month of July, and right now today's the final day that we can come away with the W here. And we're just 7 subscribers away from the Cowboys report and just 5 subscribers away from Giants now, guys. We can come away with the W for the month of July right here. I'll make a deal with you guys. If you subscribe to the channel and we beat the Cowboys and we beat the Giants and we beat the Eagles this month, then check it out for a week. See if you like the content. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. I'm that confident that you will like our in-depth Commanders coverage throughout the entirety of training camp leading into week 1 of the 2023 NFL season. So do me a favor right now. Help us beat the Cowboys report by subscribing to the Commanders report right now. So now let's get into my winners, where I have 5 of them here for you. Number 1 on my list is the quarterback, Sam Howell, who has been impressive to start Commanders training camp here over the first couple of days. He's getting a lot of praise from his teammates. And plain and simply, he is looking really, really sharp. And I'm so impressed with the improvements that Sam Howell has made over the offseason. You can tell his footwork is cleaner. You can tell that his throwing mechanics are more rotational as opposed to more of the vertical push style of throw that he was having last year. And then, of course, with the UNC Tar Heels, it looks like he's done a ton of work to help out his game and to kind of get a little bit more consistent, because that's been the big knock on Howell, even going back to college, is that, he's got a great deep ball. He's got a good arm. He's a plus runner in the run game, but he's just not consistent enough. It's looked like he's made a bunch of steps this offseason to help in that regard, and I am so excited to see this kid play for this team and offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy in 2023. And then another guy that's really been impressing during Commanders training camp to this point is edge rusher Chase Young. And according to reports, Young is looking absolutely dominant. He is looking like a number 1 true alpha type edge rusher in the National Football League, and he is completely bullying Charles Leno Jr. in 11-on-11 drills every single day in practice. He is looking strong. He is looking explosive, and it's looking like he's getting ready to have a breakout season here in 2023. And if that happens, along with the rest of the guys they got on that defensive line, with Montez Sweat and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I think this is going to be one of the best pass rushes in the National Football League, and it's going to lead to some of the best defensive production we have ever seen from this franchise. And then we get to somebody I think is incredibly underrated by the rest of the NFL world, and that is Scary Terry McLaurin. I think McLaurin is an absolutely elite wide receiver. I consider him a top 10 wide receiver in the National Football League, and he has absolutely been dicing Washington Commanders corners up throughout the entirety of camp to this point, and that's saying something because the secondary's actually been playing pretty darn well. So McLaurin consistently winning against those really higher end players like Emmanuel Forbes and Kendall Fuller and guys that have actually played really well in this league before is a great sign that Terry McLaurin and Sam Howell are going to be a great combination for Eric Bieniemy and this Commanders offense going into the 2023 season. So I want to know how you're feeling about Scary Terry down there in the comments section. Is he a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL? Give me a yes or give me a no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or no down there in the comments. For me, my answer is going to be yes. You guys know my opinion. I think Scary Terry is absolutely downright filthy when it comes to the route running, when it comes to the hands. He's an underrated hands receiver and red zone threat as well. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's finally going to have that true, come to realization moment for the rest of the NFL, and he's going to be seen as a bona fide top 10 wide receiver in the NFL moving forward. Then somebody else that's really been impressing so far in camp is rookie cornerback, first-round pick, Emmanuel Forbes, my pick to win Defensive Player or Defensive Rookie of the Year, I should say. And just look at this guy, man. He plays with a ton of swag. And, he's had some losses to guys like Terry McLaurin, right? Somebody that's one of the best route runners in the National Football League. And what I love about Emmanuel Forbes, getting reps against Scary Terry's. That iron sharpens iron, man. And I'm looking at Emmanuel Forbes as somebody that's going to be an incredible dynamic playmaker in this defense. And with as much pass rush and pressure this pass rush is going to be able to generate this year, I am so excited to see what Emmanuel Forbes can do with the opportunities that pass rush provides. And then finally, somebody that's been a big winner to this point is Khaleke Hudson. Now, we'll talk about Jamin Davis not practicing in just a second, but Khaleke Hudson is somebody that's stepped up with the ones through the early part of camp, and he has played pretty darn well. He has not been exposed to the level that some people expected him to. We've heard good things about Khaleke going all the way back to OTAs in minicamp, and he's taken that positive momentum into training camp, it seems. And even if Jamin Davis comes back and, Cody Barton and Davis are the starting combo there for the Commanders defense, it's really, really nice to know that you got a very solid depth piece here in Khaleke Hudson, who has really been showing what he can do. He is definitely going to end up making the final roster, and I think that at some point this season, he's going to have the chance to show us what he can do as a player in Jack Del Rio's scheme, which I'm super excited for. So coming up here, I got my 5 losers of training camp so far. You're not going to want to miss it, but before I get into that, check out our friends at Fanatics, where they're offering you guys this awesome T-shirt combo for your Washington Commanders. Right now, the energy around this franchise is absolutely infectious, right? With Dan Snyder gone and Josh Harris coming in, the energy is back in the nation's capital. If you need some more burgundy and gold in your closet right now, this is a perfect way to get started. It's pretty much 2 for the price of 1 shirts there on the Fanatics website. You get that short sleeve burgundy with the Commanders helmet, and then the long sleeve white T-shirt, which I really like as well. So use our link, chatsports.com/Commanders combo. If you use that link, Fanatics will know that we sent you. Now let's get into my list of losers here, starting with Jamin Davis, who unfortunately just wasn't at practice to the early part of training camp to this point, because he has been convicted of a reckless driving charge for going 114 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. And right now, Jamin is currently dealing with those legal issues, and he's currently appealing that ruling. And the maximum penalty here is 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine. But here's what I'm going to tell you right now. There is a 0% chance, at least in my opinion, that Jamin Davis spends any amount of time in jail. All right, he's just not going to go to jail. It's just not going to happen. There's going to be a plea deal here. He's going to take like a fine or something like that. And, he's going to be back in camp. He's going to be back practicing before you know it. And he will be a starter for this Commanders defense week 1 when this team plays the Arizona Cardinals. But he is still missing valuable time. He's still a young player. You want your young guys out there playing, especially a guy like Davis that still has to show that he's got a little bit more growth from last year. Really liked what I saw from him in the second half of last season, but he needs to continue to grow on that, and not being there for the early part of training camp definitely hurts him moving forward. And then somebody else that's been a loser so far in camp has been Rashad Wildgoose, somebody that's kind of on the bubble for this roster right now. And the reason why he is a loser for me is that everybody else is playing well and Wildgoose is just playing okay. It's not necessarily that Wildgoose is just getting blasted on every single rep or anything like that, but you look at guys like Jartavius Martin, Emmanuel Forbes, Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juste has been looking really good. Danny Johnson is looking really good as well. The number of spots available on this roster are definitely slimming, and nobody is giving an inch, and it's looking like Rashad Wildgoose could end up being a cut candidate here heading towards cut day, and that's definitely not good for Mr. Wildgoose there. So still to come here, I got my biggest loser of training camp to this point. You're not going to want to miss that. But before I get into the rest of the losers here, do me a favor here and click that thumbs up icon real quick. It's a big help. It's a free and easy way to help out the channel, and I really do appreciate all the support. Now we can get to our third loser here, which is offensive tackle Charles Leno Jr., and this goes hand in hand with Chase Young apparently dominating him in practice. Now, last year, 8 sacks allowed for Charles. There's a lot of people in this fan base that wanted the team to replace him in the draft or in free agency. Nothing really surfaced, and it's looking like they're going to go with Charles as their starting left tackle, and apparently he is getting killed by Chase Young, somebody that people are saying is looking super explosive. Now, it might just be that Young is a really, really amazing edge rusher that's going to really have a breakout season. And Charles has always been somebody that struggled against like the elite of the elite, like the Micah Parsons of the world, guys like that, some of the best edge rushers in the world. But overall, I think that Charles is going to continue to disappoint heading into this year. I think he'll be fine against kind of the mid-tier edge rushers in the league, but against guys like Chase Young and some of the higher-end edge rushers, that's where it really worries me. And I'm really concerned for Sam Howell staying clean in the pocket with this guy as the left tackle. And then, it's not just Charles Leno Jr., it's the entire offensive line that's been an issue to this point in camp. According to the reports, the pass rush is getting home incredibly frequently, and that scares me a ton, man. I look at this Washington Commanders offensive line, and I go into training camp saying this is definitely the weakness of this team. And if there's one weakness you do not want to have on a football team other than quarterback, it's offensive line. And, I look at this offensive line for the Commanders right now, and, I went into camp thinking this is going to be an issue, and it's looking like it's going to be heading into the season, and that really does scare me. But it is worth noting, okay? So it is early. Pads haven't come on, right? So with the pads off, the defensive line does have a massive advantage because the offensive line doesn't have really anything to grab. So, I think it's mismatched either way. The Commanders have one of the best pass rushes in the National Football League, even with pads on. And when you take those pads off, it's even more difficult. So I think that I want to wait until the pads come on here for the Commanders before I make a final judgment. But the fact that the reports are coming out that this is even more pressure than what you're used to seeing in this period scares me a lot about when it comes to this offensive line. So now be honest for me right now in the comments section. How worried are you about this Commanders offensive line heading into the 2023 campaign? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down in the comments section. And for me, my answer is going to be a 9. I am very worried about this offensive line. I'm worried that Sam Cosmi, with being 6'7", is going to have a tough time getting leverage at the guard position. I worry about Nick Gates staying healthy. I worry about Sadiq Charles starting in the National Football League at left guard. I worry about Charles Leno Jr. going up against elite pass rushers. And then Andrew Wiley, I'm fine with Andrew Wiley. He's pretty solid, but overall, this offensive line is giving up way too much pressure, according to the reports, and that's something that needs to get fixed and fixed fast. Now, the biggest loser of the entire training camp, and this is going to be the way it's going to be for the entirety of the training camp, so this is not just a so far thing. Dan Snyder is the biggest loser of this training camp so far because of how much enthusiasm the fan base has shown to this team ever since Josh Harris officially took over as the majority owner of this team. Right now, you see the crowds, you see everything that's going on with the Washington Commanders franchise and the amount of enthusiasm and the amount of energy and the amount of love that you're seeing at training camp right now. It's absolutely fantastic, and I cannot wait to see what it's going to look like at FedEx Field this year. And that's just a huge slight and a slap in the face to previous owner Dan Snyder, which is absolutely fantastic. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to help us beat the Cowboys if you haven't already. That's going to be it for me. I'm going to see you guys later. And as always, hail to the Commanders.